everybody, and welcome to another edition of Cranky Motorsports. Back out here again with my 1968 Suburban 12 diesel project that I've been working on for the past few weeks. And today what I'm going to be working on is trying to get a fuel tank set up for this thing and possibly finishing up the exhaust and trying to figure out the intake on this thing again. I would love to say I'm going to get it all done in this video. I doubt it because I have a wedding to go to this afternoon, so I'm only going to have like an hour and a half, 2 hours to work on this maximum. But for the fuel tank, I said in one of my last videos I was going to get a welded aluminum radiator overflow tank for the fuel tank on this. Now this is a 2-liter fuel tank that I bought off of eBay for $20 plus shipping. Killer deal. I know it's made in China, but honestly, the welds and everything on this look really, really good, and for the money, it's really hard to beat. Seeing that I have a Chinese diesel in this, it kind of makes sense anyway. So what this has on the bottom is a fuel outlet. Actually, this would be from your radiator coming in here to fill this tank up because it's a radiator overflow tank. And then it also has an overflow out of this, so if the pressure gets too much in here or you get too much fluid, normally it would overflow the fuel out of here, or the antifreeze. So this is going to be my fuel outlet going down to my fuel pump on my motor. This is like I think it's a 3/8 pipe nipple, so it's a little bit big for what I need. I might have to put a reducer in there to go down to 5/16 or 1/4 inch that goes into the motor. And then this is going to be my return line up here at the top. It goes in the filler neck. Now again, because this is meant to be a radiator overflow tank, this actually has a pressurized cap. And I think what I'm going to do with this to make it work is take this rubber gasket off the bottom so that it's not sealing on the neck of this thing. And then this very bottom piece here, the spring-loaded piece, I'll probably cut a couple of notches in that. So when this thing seals inside the throat of the tank, that I'm not having an actual seal, because I need fuel to flow back from the pump or the injector through this back down into the tank as an overflow. The alternative is just to put a pipe plug in this and drill and tap a hole in the top of this so the fuel goes right back in the top. I could certainly do that as well. Now this being that it's not on the bottom, coming out the bottom of this tank, that will mean that I can only use this down to like the bottom inch of the tank before it runs out of fuel. But honestly, these diesels run a really long time on very little fuel, and usually every time I drive my diesels, I fill the tank all the way up to the top anyway. So I'm gonna see where I can fit this thing inside the tractor, and let's get started putting it together. Now again, the main reason I wanted a small tank like this is because I don't have a lot of room for the tank anywhere in here. So this little tank, it'll fit just about anywhere in this location, and what I need to do is get the fuel to this hose here. So this is my fuel inlet. It's on this side of the carburetor, on the fuel pump, and it does need to be gravity fed from here down to the bottom. So what I might try doing is mounting this tank over in this location somewhere and then putting like a big S-bend in the fuel line so that it comes basically around like this. That's what I think I'm going to try to do. The nice thing is there are some threaded holes on a bracket on the side of the tank, so I might be able to make something that comes down off of this rod here and connects in there, or the other option, I can always mount it just like this, which actually is probably even better. That's a better idea. So I need to make some kind of bracket that connects up here, either off the front of the motor or the top of the motor coming over and picking those two up. I could mount it directly off of this bracket as well. So let me think on that a little bit, figure out where the best place to mount this tank is. But I think honestly, it's going to end up sitting probably right about there. And it's a perfect size for what I need to do. And then again, my return line off of my injector, that's going to have to loop around and get back in the top of the tank somehow. I might actually drill and tap into the aluminum and put a 90-degree off the top, as opposed to using this already installed nipple up here on the top. So again, let me get to this and see what I can figure out with this tank. for the past hour, I've been working on making a bracket for the fuel tank. Some of you that know Sears tractors well may understand what this orange bracket is. That's actually a starter generator bracket for a Tecumseh engine. And what I did was ground the edge up here off. This is the bushing on one side of it, so I ground it off so it fits up here on the engine, cut it to length, drilled another hole in the bottom of it, and then, you know, rounded the edge over. So this bolts on the front of the engine here. There's one bolt down here, one bolt up here. Those are the actual mounts for the diesel gas tank. So I know this will be sturdy enough. And then I took a piece of flat stock to offset the tank off to the side more, drilled a couple of holes in it here, and gonna bolt the tank on there. I was gonna bend this bracket out so it would kind of cradle the bottom of the tank, but then I realized that I bent it in the opposite direction. So I decided to kind of use what I had. I cut the bottom of it off, and this is going to bolt on here. Pretty simple. Ah, crap, I might have made that too long. My bolt might not actually fit. Crap, I might have to grind that a little bit. Yeah, I might have to cut a notch in that so this bolt will fit. But the theory is that this will bolt on here like this. Snug it down nicely here on the engine. This should give me a good solid mount for the tank. The only thing I'm a little bit worried about is the tank actually, or I should say the motor vibrates a lot. So there is a chance that the tank may slosh some fuel out of it, though most of my fuel tanks are bolted right to the engine. So what I got here, tank is gonna go right on here like this. We got these other bolts. This is a pretty slick setup, I gotta tell you. I'm glad I found this overflow tank. And you know, the last time I did one of these, probably 5 or 6 years ago, when I was trying to do something similar to this, I found an overflow tank, but it was a little tiny plastic one. I think it was like a ball camp, or one of those aftermarket companies that make replacement parts for cars, and wasn't quite as good as this. So I think this time around, I'm gonna have a much better setup for the fuel system on this thing. Once I get all this stuff tightened down. And I don't really think that there's gonna be too much problem using the mount on this tank to hold it up, because that's what it's designed for in a car. It only has that one tab on it with 2 bolts. Now this is aluminum, so I may put a nut on the inside of that, but dang, this thing is sturdy. Really sturdy. So, and the fuel line is going to come, it's going to have just a little tiny loop in it. I was going to try to put a filter in here, but I don't know if I'm going to have enough room. Maybe if I loop it a little longer. I'll let you come check this side out. And then my return line, if I leave this nipple here, I'll have to just loop it around and come in the front. Again, that's not really a big issue. I got plenty of room to do that. But let me show you what this looks like up close so you can get a better idea what I'm working with here. And then I'm gonna have to end this video because I got a lot of stuff to do today. It's not tractor related. Let me show you what this looks like. All right, so this is what I'm working with here. These are the brackets I made today. The orange one, which is again a starter generator bracket, and then this plate, I'm gonna actually probably have to reverse those bolts so they go in towards the back, because this is just touching the tank right there, and I don't want it to rub on the tank. So I'm gonna have to take these bolts back out and shove them in the back way. And then again, this bottom bolt down here, which you can't really see, that one right there, that bolts the orange bracket onto the motor, is hitting the adapter plate that I put on there. So I'm gonna have to shove that out. But look at how nice that tank fits in there. I mean, it's below the level of the hood. It's not near the headlights at all. I got plenty of room side to side, plenty of room down this side. It's not anywhere near the block or anything like that. Like I said, I'll probably put nuts on the back of these bolts when I bolt them back on, just to make sure that it's going to be nice and sturdy. I mean, this thing is rock solid. I don't think it's going anywhere, but that aluminum, over time, the aluminum could strip out where the threads are. So I'm going to nut it anyway. And it's not too bad. I mean, these tanks are 20 bucks on eBay, $20 for a fully welded aluminum tank with all of the adapters that it came with. It came with 3 different size adapters. I think that one's 3/8, and it came with a 1/2 inch. And then it also came with this one, which is either, I think it's 5/16 for the return line, or in this case, the overflow. But man, That looks super cool. And the best thing about these, they make them in all different sizes. Again, that's a 2 liter. You can get a 4 liter. You can get all different sizes. You can get ones that have little tubes coming down the side with sight glasses on them so you can actually see how much fluid is in there. I almost bought one of those, but this one just seemed to be a little bit better for what I'm trying to do. So one step closer to getting this thing done. Again, there's the fuel tank. When the hood's on there, you won't even really see that at all, but I think it's really cool. And then I still have to figure out the air intake on this because this one's going to hit the hood. It sticks out way too far. And then again, the exhaust. I got my 1-inch fender washer, or my 1-inch washer trimmed down so that it clears that little notch on the motor. I'm going to get a 1-inch pipe nipple, stick it up here, weld all the way around it, and then I can put whatever exhaust on it that I want. Probably end up doing a stack on this, but I do have some other off-brand mufflers sitting in the garage from other projects that I might try. Well, that's going to have to do it for today's video. I hate to cut it short like this when I got that far, but I can't quite finish the fuel system or anything. But I have a wedding to go to today, so it's going to have to wait for next time. And I got to tell you, I can't wait to have this thing drivable because I'm getting tired of pushing it in and out of the garage. Coming out's easy, but going in's not. That's going to do it for this edition of Cranky Motorsports. Thanks for joining me again on this lovely hot Saturday. Make sure you tune in next time for more work on that diesel Suburban 12. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Keep tractoring.